Bonjour, y'all. Let's see here. Oh, let me see. Oh, we've already got people talking. How's everybody doing? Let's see. Sorry, just still trying to get things a little set up here. But hello, Rose, Jean-Marc. Hello, Miss Sierra, Ileana. Oh, Joe from Colorado Springs. Good to see you. Kathy, hello, hello. Always glad to see y'all. Well, we'll see if we see Freya. She's around. And let me know if you can hear me too, by the way. I'm assuming you can. But let's see. Yeah, Jean-Marc, I hope things are still improving for you. But Diane Marie, bonjour. Lisa, hello. Sue. Oh, you can hear me fine. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Anne from Nice, hello. Well, glad y'all could join. Whew. Lynn Marie, bonjour. All right. Well, as Anne knows, that and anybody else, and Jean-Marc, I'm sure too, if you're still here in France, we've got an interesting week coming up. Greg, bonsoir. Oh, and Jim, hello. Yeah, as it turns out, last week, the 10th, was the first of the, oh gosh, what was it, Blue Con 2, that where they were trying to shut everything down, and which, I mean, Paris just looks like it was a mess, and Lyon probably got hit as well. Some of the larger cities probably got hit more than certainly Perpignan. I think there was a well, not I think there was a protest downtown, but no evidence of any big issues, and nothing was, as far as I could tell, nothing was really that impacted by it. So, yeah, fortunately, but so yeah, Miss Sierra, we had protests, but it was peaceful, so no issues other than that. So I guess we'll see what happens on the 18th and 19th. That'll be certainly a much more widespread set of strikes that are going on, and which I'm sure it's going to be impactful too. And I read an article that it certainly sounds like it's going to be more impactful around the Paris area, and probably some of the larger cities in that. And we'll probably have some impact with like train service and possibly bus service, but I don't know if the bus service here in Perpignan is the same union as any other. It's a different company, but I don't know if they're like part of the same union. So, but Miss Yara, the French love to strike, part of their history and culture. Yeah, absolutely, and totally get it. I totally get it. They're upset and all that with what the government was proposing, and just totally understand how that is. Let's see, Jean-Marc saying nothing in my area at all, everything open as normal. Oh, and Debbie, bonjour. But yeah, so it like I said, in Perpignan, it looks like it was just a peaceful protest, not just, but it was a peaceful protest, and that was it, type thing. So I didn't notice anything here either. But we'll see what happens on the 18th and 19th. And I'd seen an article that the air traffic controllers were not going to strike on the 18th and 19th. At least part of their unions weren't going to strike on the 18th and 19th because they're trying to negotiate at the ministerial level. And since the prime minister was just assigned last week, they haven't had a chance to do that. So I think they've postponed theirs until October timeframe, early October. So we'll see. There's supposed to be some strikes with the pharmacies, but there'll always be at least one pharmacy open. So it just the prefecture will make sure that at least one pharmacy is open in the area to help make sure people do get access to medicine. But I'll be able to report more next weekend as to kind of the impacts that we had here. But so far the one on the 10th had no real impact here that was at least visible other than protest. And we'll just see what happens when, next Thursday and Friday, what happens with that. So let's see. Joe, I'm traveling to Paris, Amboise, Carcassonne, Avignon in 5 weeks. Well, Joe, I hope I hope it all goes smoothly for you. That it sounds like the air traffic will certainly be that air traffic controller strike will certainly be impactful for people doing air travel. But I don't know. I think that's like the first week or second week in October, like I think the 8th and 9th or something like that they were looking to do the strike. So we'll see. John Mark saying you'll be fine and you'll be okay in 5 weeks' time. Yeah, I just don't know with the air traffic folks because they seem to be, like I said, they're postponing theirs. Oh, Linda, hello from Yorkshire, y'all. But I don't remember you saying y'all when I met you, Linda. But we'll be all right. That's a good use of it. Let's see. Monica, I admire how well organized their protests are. Yeah, it seems like it's something that they really have to schedule and they abide by it. So, aside from, the damage and the kind of more violence that was happening up in Paris, I don't know that there was anything else like that around other cities in the country. So let's see. And we had a group of protesters march. It was very peaceful, young and old together. Some had yellow vests and their dogs marched with them, and some of the little dogs had yellow vests. Yeah, like I said, we had the protest march here as well in Perpignan, and it was, peaceful. So, and Lynn Marie, at least they give advance. Absolutely, there's it doesn't seem like they ever strike other than when it's all scheduled. So it just seemed to me, but maybe in the U.S. it might be the same way. I never worked for a union, so I don't know how that really works. But it just seemed in the U.S. that they could just strike kind of whenever they wanted to, sort of thing. And I don't think that didn't seem like that there was any real orchestration other than maybe if somebody got wind of a strike vote going on in the union. Let's see. Ms. Ciara, I hope the air traffic will be back to normal. My Paris place is booked by tourists. Yeah, I'm sure that's going to be super impactful. Certainly the trains and when they try to do blockades of the streets and the roads and all that, that's also impactful. But that air traffic control issue, that doesn't only impact flights that are coming like in and out of France, but anybody that's using French airspace too. So, that'll be a huge impact to European travel. Debbie saying that roaming retirement said Nice was okay for transport. Didn't notice any. Yeah, I didn't notice anything here either. I'm glad Nice was good too. Let's see, Greg, we're traveling for our scouting trip in mid-October. We certainly support the unions, but hopefully things will be settled by the time we're traveling. Yeah, hopefully so. It seems like I know that there are some strikes that were put out that sound like they were for a month. I think that was more like civil servants and administration folks, which would certainly also be very impactful. But I think those are the only ones, and maybe the pharmacies were thinking about being closed on Saturdays through October or something like that. But I don't know the exact details of those. But and the pharmacies being closed will certainly be impactful. But as long as we have at least one open, of course that'll just make it a bottleneck for people trying to get stuff in larger cities. But we'll see what happens, and hopefully the government's able to get kind of things worked out and not have such a negative reaction to the whatever's proposed for their budget going through. So John Mark, you've got me saying bonjour y'all when I'm out to annoy Brit. That's good. Well, people need to know about it. People need to know about it. Let's see, Linda, in Yorkshire we say "ay up," but you've influenced me. Maybe I should change it to bonjour ay up. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but let's see. Deborah, I'm headed to Lyon in 2 weeks for a month, followed by Nice for 2 months. Your chats are most helpful and enjoyable. Thank you for doing it. Oh, well, I appreciate that, Deborah. Like I said, I do hope, I want these to be useful. Oh, there's Miss Freya. There she goes. She's looking for some treats. And she found them. But Let's see. Dion Marie, do you anticipate prices going up due to the budget crisis? I don't know. There's probably, and honestly, I don't know. It depends on what the budget comes through with. If they're going to change any of the, which I would find hard to believe that the first thing they would do. Of course, that's what also caused a lot of this in the first place, was that, they're proposing like removing 2 national holidays, and some other things were going to get reduced. Some social services were going to get reduced funding, and of course people don't like that, which fully understand. And so I don't know. I hope that they get to a point where they do something more with equitable tax, increases or something that doesn't impact social services. But I don't know. I don't know if that'll increase the pricing for like doctor's visits or things like. I just think that that's something that people will just absolutely go crazy against. So let's see. Linda, air traffic controllers were on strike in 2022. I had to stay in Avignon another 5 days. Oh, that's such a hardship. Yeah, that's a tough one, Linda. I'm sorry that you had to experience that. But yeah, I mean, I can talk lightly about it because I'm not going to be traveling by air, but it's I'm sure it's very impactful for people. Let's see, Jean-Marc, as long as you've got enough prescription medications, I'm not going to worry about strikes. Yeah, I just recently refilled mine, so I'm good for another month, and we'll just see how it plays out. But again, it's just one of those things where you have to roll with it. And at least here, I feel confident that social services and things that people need will still be addressed, as opposed to in the U.S. where, it's just like it's a free for all, and it's so horrible back there. I feel for the folks. Let's see. Betsy. Hello, Jeff. Hello, Betsy. We've been watching for a while, and we're traveling to Lyon and Marseille next week, but we're renting a car and traveling around Provence, guessing we might not be affected. Oh, you'll likely, well, actually, next week. Well, the strike is going to be the 18th and 19th of September. So if you're here during that period of time, you might very well be impacted by it. If you're driving around, well, I mean, they're going to be doing road blockades too, but those are probably going to be mostly in the larger cities. They might do them and try to do them in all cities, but I suspect Lyon will probably get some, and Marseille will likely get, since that's the second and third largest cities here in France, likely get some impact to it. But it seems like it's only the 18th and 19th. So, once that's passed, it should, things should hopefully start to get back to normal. But they also, like I said, I'd read something that the civil servants and some other union were talking about doing a month-long agreement for doing the strike or something like that. So, and I think they were also wanting like the people that work the schools and all that to also walk out. And what I read was, and again, it's just what I read, so could be true, could be not. But I'd read that they the strike that went out on the 10th of September, they also did the same thing where they recommend, there was no strike notice for public administration, folks or schools and all that sort of thing, but they requested people to follow that as well. And it turned out, I think they said like 5% of the schools or school staff, walked out or didn't show up for work that day or whatever type thing. So hopefully it's not super impactful, but it looks like it's for 2 days. And I hope that that's all that it is. So, and hopefully the government works with these unions and people to try to get something that's more reasonable for the mass population and not just for the wealthy. Let's see. Ms. Yara, France needs to change the tax system. Possibly. I don't know. It's just, I personally, once I start having revenue here, which won't be until really next year, probably sometime, is that I personally don't mind paying into it because I see the benefit of it. But I know that people will always complain about the amount of taxes they pay. But honestly, for the healthcare coverage, and just for that, it's worth it to me. It's worth it to me. Elizabeth, reverse Robin in the U.S. Absolutely. Yeah. The U.S. is definitely, like healthcare and all that, is it's a privilege, not a right. And that's just not the way to treat people. Let's see. Decluttered Dream. Oh, hello again. Hi, Jeff. Kristen from North Carolina here. Hello, Kristen. I saw that y'all put out another video, so I'm gonna check it out. I haven't seen it yet, but I did see it pop up. So let's see. Rob, hi from Murrieta, California. I don't know where that is. If you can just, Rob, if you can just let me know where is that. Northern California, Southern California? Let's see. Minciar, exactly. I agree 100%. U.S. can learn a thing or two from our mother, France. Yeah, it's just sad what's happening in the U.S. And it's such a huge issue now, and I don't know really how resolvable it's going to be over certainly a short period of time. But they really need to get away from all the, if you're wealthy, you can do things. If you're not wealthy, you're just going to be, stuck in forever poverty and whatnot. And that's just not the way to treat people. Let's see, Elizabeth, any updates on your driver's license? No. That I did have somebody, I don't know if they're in the chat or not, but I did have I had a couple of comments about it. Is that one of the things that a couple of people, I shouldn't say it's a lot of people, but a couple of people have asked me about is, I guess one of their concerns is that the way that I do my videos, it makes it seem like everything is easy, or it's easy. It's an easy process. I don't know how to phrase it. I'm just going to paraphrase it from them, but it's, I make it seem like it's, non-issues and simple to do. And there's no, and they were telling me that I really need to cover more topic on how frustrating it can be with French administration, or how long things take, or, what customer service is so bad. But I'll do a video of that, I'm from my perspective, obviously. But to be frank, it's not, you have to have a different mindset for doing this. And my mindset is that I'm going to roll with the punches. Whatever they want to throw at me. You want me to send in a document that I've sent in 3 times? You want me to send it in a 4th time? I'm going to send it in the 4th time. I don't care. As long as nobody is canceling my application or denying it because I didn't have all the information in, or, something to that effect. That gets very frustrating. But for me to wait an extra couple of months, or I don't hear anything for a while, and then suddenly I get an email saying, okay, yeah, we need this information. And it's like, well, if you'd asked for that in the first place. But I'm not here to argue with anybody, do any of that stuff. I'm just going to follow whatever instructions they provide. And, it really, to me, is not all that hard. Now, I've been through a lot in my life, and so maybe that's helped me kind of build up a tolerance for tedium and pain with that. But I don't find it bad. I don't find customer service to be horrible. But I don't, maybe Paris, I'm sure Paris is different, and other regions might be different, or somebody's just having a bad day. But it's not, I've had a great experience so far with all this, so I don't, I don't have any complaints. But I'll do a video, something about that. So let me just make sure I'm just blathering on here. So anyway, my driver's license, to get back to that, to answer your question, Elizabeth, I'm still waiting on, I uploaded the documents they requested, and, a friend of mine here did get a notice from from whatever government agency it is, that they sent him the request to send in his driver's license, which is the last step. So once he sends in his driver's license, he'll get the French driver's license back. So the process does work. It's just a matter of, waiting them out. So let's see. Almost heroic. Hello. Let's see, Kathy. Y'all please like the video. Oh yeah, no, thank you, Kathy. Yes, if you get an opportunity to like the video, that'd be awesome. Appreciate that. Let's see, Rob. Murrieta is about 45 miles north of San Diego. Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Well, that's got to be a nice part of the country. Let's see, Jean-Marc. A lot of Canadians are flocking into my area, I noticed. Jean-Marc, are you in Bordeaux? What region are you? I just want to make sure I've got the right region for you. Miss Yara, Jeff, can't you get an international driver's license? Well, I had one. I got one from the U.S. when I moved here, and but it's only good for a year. So, I mean, technically, I can go back and get another international driver's license, but I don't want to have to fly back to do all that hoo-ha. And honestly, I don't even know how, kind of realistically, if I really even need. I'm just doing the driver's license thing within the first year, which I'm over now, but they're still processing it. It just takes a long time. But I don't even know if I'm really ever going to really need it, because it's when I've rented a car from like Intermarché or Enterprise, they've only cared to see my passport, so it's not, now maybe if I ended up like I got a ticket or something happened, like an accident or whatnot, then maybe that's where that comes into play. But, I'm working on the process to get it, because I do want to get it, but I don't, I don't know because I don't have a car. So it's not like I'm not driving around each day. So let's see. Oops. Oh, geez. Okay. I'm skipping over a bunch of these. Jean-Marc, Florida is an exchange state. I waited 9 months for mine to arrive. Yeah, you just have to roll with it. Be prepared for every surprise. Yeah, it's tedium, but my job that I had for, 30-ish years in IT was tedium. So I guess I'd maybe just have a high threshold of tolerance for that. So let's see, Greg, any update on your visa status change to Profession Liberale? So you can register as micro. No, I can't actually do anything with it until next April. So in January is when I will submit the business plan and get that ball rolling, and then start the process of doing the status change on my visa. But unfortunately, you can't just change the visa kind of midstream. You have to wait for the renewal period. So that's what I'm doing. So let's see. Lynn Marie, Jeff, it seems like some prefectures are better about getting things done efficiently. Yeah, I think that's very true. I don't know. The only interaction I've really had with Perpignan, the prefecture here, has been to get my residency card, and from when I did my first renewal earlier this year of my visa, and that all went pretty smoothly. I mean, getting the appointment online was pretty easy. It was a month out, so it wasn't like it was next day or something like that. But when I showed up for the appointment, I don't even think I was in the waiting area for 15 minutes, and then got called up, and then I think it may have been 5 to 10 minutes with the young fellow that was there. That was just had to get my passport, look at it, verify that I'm who I am, sort of thing, and then it just they gave me the card. So it went very quickly. So, but I haven't tried when I go to change my visa status to the Profession Liberale. That's when I'm going to find out a little bit more about the prefecture here to see how efficient they are. But we'll see. Let's see, Elizabeth, you have such good attitude about time expectations, and those of us used to speedy turnaround times would do well from learning from you. Patience is a virtue. Yeah, I thank you, Elizabeth. But yeah, it's and look, I get that people get frustrated with kind of the admin bits, and there's a lot to it, and but I don't find any of it to be really hard. If I was married and divorced or whatever type thing, and had name changes and all that probably adds a lot of complications to it. But for just being one, a guy just moving here type thing, it's like it was pretty easy. So it's I don't want to make it sound like it's 5 minutes later you're done. I mean, same thing with the long stay visitor visa. There's a lot of paperwork that goes with it, but it's certainly doable. It's not, but it all depends on what your threshold of pain is for doing tedium. If you just really don't have any time, if you don't have any tolerance for it, this may not be the thing for you to do. Moving to a foreign country, maybe it's not going to be in your cards, because there's all kinds of things that are going to take a long time to do things here. So it's, it's part of the deal. If you're the type that is just like type A, type A, type A, and this has got to be this, and I've got to have that, and this has got to be planned, I would caution you against moving to any country, any country that because it just seems like with immigration paperwork, there's all kinds of hoo-ha that you have to go through, and you just have to roll with it. There's no fighting it. There's no system to fight. There's no, nobody's going to listen to me. Nobody's going to say, "Oh, Jeff, that's a great idea. Why didn't we think of that?" It is what it is. So just got to roll with it. Let's see, Linda, I think you have exactly the right attitude to bureaucracy, but I'm not sure I could be that laid back. Yeah, Linda, you could put up with it. You could put up with it. Well, like I said, there are worse things that could happen to me. So I don't, somebody asking for some paperwork a couple of times or something taking 5 months when you'd think it would take like a week. Like, okay, whatever. It would be different if I had a family, if I had family here and kids, or trying to register kids in school, or, whatever it might be. If I have a spouse I'm trying to get here, or, or looking for work or things of that sort, then it's a whole different bailiwick of stuff that you have to deal with and stress, but I don't have any of that. So I can't speak to that, but for me, it's been just fine. Leah, bonjour. Would you have stayed in the U.S. if healthcare was more reasonable? That's a good question. I don't know. I've always wanted to travel around Europe. Not that I've been traveling around Europe right now. I mean, it seems like the first year or so, it's a lot of admin stuff, and I'm so focused on making sure I'm not messing something up that it's just that I haven't really done much traveling. But I'm hoping that now that the ball's kind of course, now I'm going to be looking to renew mine or change the status to a different visa type. But once all that paperwork's in, it's out of my hands. And though at that point, I'll probably start to look to do some more traveling around. But within France, I'm happy to travel around France right now and just get more accustomed to other regions here. But I do want to do more travels to, like I would love to go to Germany, love to get to Scotland, just anywhere, just really anywhere. I don't know why I'm going to list off countries. You can just list off, probably 70 of them here that I'd want to get to. So, but over time, we'll see what happens. But let's see. But as far as healthcare in the U.S., I don't know that would be the case. Especially right now, it's so toxic, and of course I still you can't get away from it. It's everywhere right now, but U.S. is particularly bad, and I don't know that healthcare. If healthcare was more of a universal care, possibly, possibly I would look to do that, but I just think it just has to get to a point where things are less toxic there now, and people care about people and not just money, and just, it's like, who's going to give me money and who's going to, who's paying for this and who's paying for that. It's like, just get to the point where that's just, it's more important to have humans being taken care of rather than targeting everybody to, who are we going after now, type thing. So there's a lot of other things other than the healthcare, but if the healthcare thing ever became like universal healthcare, I would entertain the idea, but I don't know that that's still, I don't know if that'd still be enough of a draw for me to get back there. Let's see, Ileana, that's such a great attitude, which is helpful. Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, no, it really is. And so I want to get more involved in doing some, when they do the, it's not really a festival, but when they do these groups of associations, which are the nonprofits or other organizations here in the city or whatever city, every village and city probably has, some sort of an association, at least a few that are within that area. I do want to get more involved in something, I just need to take the time to see what's available and how I want to get involved with that. Let's see, almost heroic. Seems like people never dealt with bureaucracy in the U.S. Let's see, the U.S. website or disaster, everything takes ages. They lose your files there. Yeah, look, I mean, the DMV in the U.S. has just historically been just a joke, with things. And but I will say, when I moved to Texas and then Georgia and then South Carolina, those DMV experiences were great. I mean, they really had that stuff done. But again, from the history that I've had in the United States with doing some things with government agencies, it's bad, So I can't even imagine what it's like for people. And of course, right now it'd be absolutely horrific if you're trying to emigrate to the U.S. But I can't even imagine what some of the immigrants there have had to deal with on paperwork and administration and meetings and whatnot. That's just has to be horrible. So let's see. Oh my gosh. Okay, I've really skipped over some things. Let's see here. Oh, Patricia, hello. Iko, Jean-Marc, our region is Nouvelle-Aquitaine. Yep. Paula, the international driver's license is not good permanently. It only serves to translate your U.S. license into French if asked. I've had my U.S. license translate to French just because I needed that for the exchange process. But there is an international driver's license I was able to get from AAA, I think it was, in the U.S. And you pay I don't know, I think it was maybe $30. And I'm sure it just captures some information off of it. And, but like I said, nobody has asked one time for that international driver's license, but I had it just in case. Rob T, when we look to move, we'd like a climate somewhat close to Southern California, so likely the South. Yeah, you would if you're looking for something in like Southern California, you'll definitely be looking for Mediterranean coast, somewhere along there. Let's see, Jean-Marc, you don't have to hand in your USA driver's license if your state you need it for ID in the US for bank. Actually, you do have to turn it in to the French authorities to get your French driver's license. So that's where people do run into an issue. But I mean, if you go back to the US, if you don't have a backup license, which you're not supposed to, but if you don't have a backup license, like a copy of not just a photocopy, but an actual issued version of your driver's license, then you go back to the U.S. You can use your passport for getting around. So that is one of the downsides to doing the driver's license exchange. That if it's the only driver's license that you have from the U.S., you do have to turn it in. Well, let me back that up. Jean-Marc may have other information that I didn't have, type thing, but from what I had learned from, like last year, that was the case. So I haven't gotten to the point of turning mine in, but I know that they just asked for the friend of mine to send their driver's license in. Let's see, Miss Yara, I only drive in Paris when I go to Costco a few times a year and I rent a car. Paris is difficult to find a part. Yeah, I know in Lyon they had some sort of a car service where you could, like they're parked on the street and you could just rent it for however long. I imagine it's by the hour or something like that. And just take the car and go do something. So that I don't know how much it costs. I don't know that, they had several of them around, so I couldn't imagine it was super expensive. But I would imagine it's supposed to be less expensive than going to like Enterprise or someplace by the airport to pick up a vehicle. So, but yeah, that's all I would do is just rent a car and whatever I need to do it, and then go back and drop it off. Rob, the international driver's license that you get at your local AAA in the U.S. isn't an actual license. It's just, no, I know it's not but it's marked as international driver's license. So, I don't know. Like I said, it's only good for a year, and so that's up. So it's no good now. Carol, hello from Geneva. Hello. No protests here. Oh, well, that's good. That's good. Let's see, Rob. Hi, Jeff. Love your channel. Well, thank you. Thank you, Rob. I'm in Chinon for a month. Have been coming to France twice a year since 2017. One of our first trips was to Perpignan. Loved it. Yeah, Perpignan, like I said, Perpignan's perfectly nice city. I know that the French seem to not particularly care for Perpignan, especially if they're like more northern French. I guess it has a bad rap for, well, I don't know, just I'll say it, for petty crimes or maybe some drugs. But I mean, every city's going to have drugs, so that. But like I said, I no issues at all with Perpignan, other than it's just I don't like that the buses stop at 7:30 at night. Not all of the buses do, but any bus that gets me near my house stops by 7:30 at night. So not super convenient for wanting to get in downtown. Let's see, Tracy, does the atmosphere in France seem chaotic currently? I'm wondering about NATO, Poland, Russia, France's support for Ukraine. Yeah, it does seem chaotic. Well, I mean, comparatively to the U.S., not that bad to me, but yeah, there's a lot of challenges going on right now with budget crisis here. The French government collapse, getting the new prime minister set up. There's a lot going on. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And of course, with Russia sending the drones over Poland, and Poland and the Netherlands, NATO member, going and shooting them down, and all that. There's a lot of tension that's building as to what Russia's plans are for Europe. Because I know like the Baltic states seem to be much more on edge now, like with Lithuania and Estonia, and probably Latvia as well. But so who knows if Putin is just trying to test NATO and their response to what happens if the airspace is there's an incursion in the airspace. What's going to happen in Ukraine? I don't know. But definitely much more tensions here with what's been going on recently. So, but I mean, as a day-to-day, just to answer your question, Tracy, as a day-to-day thing, it's relatively unnoticeable. So it's just it's news. It certainly is news. Let's see, Greg, did you do your visa renewal in Montpellier? That was where you did your initial interview and medical exam after you originally validated, right? Well, Greg, the trip to Montpellier is for immigration office, and so the immigration office for this area is in Montpellier. So when you validate your visa, you have to in time. Again, it's one of those things you just wait. I mean, there's nobody calls you. You just eventually get an email saying here's your date and time and where you go, sort of thing. So that's when I found out it was going to be in Montpellier, and you can call and change your time and date and all that if you need to, but probably recommended not to if you don't have to. But anyway, went up to Montpellier. They don't really do an exam. At least I didn't have to go through an exam, and I don't think anybody else that was English speaking there, well, from North America, didn't have to go through any exams. So there was no chest X-ray. There was no, I don't even know. I think they took my blood pressure. It was like a very basic. Just like took your temperature, did a blood pressure thing, whatever you do at like your doctor's office, typically when you go in. And they were more interested in making sure that I knew how to get onto Doctolib and do searches for a general practitioner and get things set up, and eventually get into the healthcare system and the kind of the site to go to for that. And they seem to just be generally caring about making sure that you know how to integrate at least administratively into the system. So by then I'd already had a GP lined up, and I'd already been to the doctor, and so I didn't have to worry about what am I going to do with the prescriptions or get things translated or any of that stuff. And so that meeting was perfectly fine with them, just to talk to them. But my visa renewal actually is here at the prefecture here in Perpignan. So I don't have to go back to Montpellier for dealing with that. I just have to deal with the folks here. Let's see. Elizabeth, it's not just healthcare, it's gun violence, chemicals, and food. Yeah, not judging people what they do for a living and all that. Absolutely. That's the thing. That's what makes it so toxic, is that it's just, like there was a video, a fella had done a video of doing Costco run somewhere in the US. And he was in the candy aisle. And everybody that's been to Costco knows it's like this gigantic aisle of just candy. Surprisingly, that's the aisle. And he was saying that now again, it's his video, so how factual it is, I can only guess that he's probably right with it. But he was making comment about all the chemicals that were in the candies that were being sold here in Costco in the U.S. that are banned in Europe, yet they have these candies in Europe. And so it's like, okay, so it's okay for you to do that in Europe and put the stuff there, but you still want to have these banned substances in what you're selling to the, American consumer type thing. And it's like, why can't we get this right where we don't do that? Just don't do that. But of course, it's all for the dollar, so that's what they do. Let's see. Patricia, Jeff, you have observed that some of the rules of the road are different in France than in the U.S., particularly about making a turn. Have you observed that some? Yes, and the one that really struck me was the people coming from the right always have right of way, and so unless there's a sign that says otherwise. So like the first couple of times I was on the bus and it just stopped like in the middle of this intersection, and the cars just kept going in front of it and kept going in front of it. And I'm like, why are, I'm thinking it's like, well, okay, there's something about being nice with this, but I mean, we're sitting here for a little while these cars are just kind of zooming through. Well, then come to find out, because I didn't see any markings on the road. I didn't see anything about, some zigzag line or a couple of things, something to indicate, a sign on the side of the road that would indicate it's like, okay, these people have right of way. But it's just one of those things that you have to learn is that, people coming from the right, even though it might be a side street, it might be something else. If they're coming from the right and there's no stop sign for them, if it's just like I think that's probably the indicator. If there's no stop sign for them and they're coming in from the right, they have right of way. So if you hit somebody that's doing that, you're going to be in the wrong. And so there's just some oddities with that. And of course, trying to learn the roundabouts. Again, not hard, but again, it's just trying to do it right where you've got the signals correct and of course, not that many people use the signals here either, but when I'm driving around, I do try to make sure that I'm doing it right so that I indicate to people when I'm trying to exit, that sort of thing. So there's a couple of issues with driving, but honestly, it really hasn't been, but I haven't driven around Paris. So, I haven't been in any major cities, but like we drove into Toulouse and drove around, Perpignan a little bit and drove to Narbonne as well. And I've driven down to Barcelona, down to the airport in Barcelona. So, let's see. Robin, howdy, Jeff. Hello, Robin. When you're ready to travel outside of France, what location tops your list and why? The one that tops my list is probably going to be Scotland, just because that's kind of my ancestral, ground sort of thing. And I've always wanted to go there. And so I'll probably do that. But I don't know if I'd do that by train, because that seems like that would take a very long time to do. But again, what else am I doing? So I don't know, it seems weird. I can't get my hands in this shot. Kind of what else am I doing? So I might do it by train just to give it a go. But for something that's on the continent here, I'd probably, I don't know, Italy, maybe try to do Italy in the wintertime or so, just to hit over to Turin or Milan and just go check that out. Just history. I'd love to go see historical sites and that. Let's see. Someday came, been in the process of gaining my Spanish citizenship by descent, and it's still ongoing after 15 months. Also been working with a Madrid law firm. Yeah, I've heard that those take a very long time to do, but kudos for you for working through it. Let's see, Linda, the political climate here in the UK is totally unsettled. I've noticed that there's a trend to move away to the US. It's getting scary. Yeah, I know that there's a lot of probably one of the biggest, the most common question I get from people in France when I tell them I'm American, it's like, why did you move here? Why here? Why'd you leave? Because a lot of them, especially the younger ones, see the U.S. as being like this, you can make a lot of money there. It's money. You can, so much more money than you can make here type thing. And I'm like, it comes at a price. It's not, it's not like people are just handing you money. And but it seems to still be quite the dream for folks. And I'm like, I'm kind of over it. So let's see. Diane Marie, how are your language skills going? It's a slow process for me. They're improving. Well, to me, I mean, self-assessment is rarely 100% accurate, but I just, I think they're getting better. I'm working on it. I am working on it. Let's see. Someday King, problem in Houston, Texas, hoping to move without need for a visa to Bordeaux, France by March 2026. Patience is a necessity. Absolutely. Pack your patience. Let's see. Rose, the baguette-bound people have a pretty strong opinion on not trying to switch to profession liberale, but Fish has just downgraded France's rating. Yeah, I don't know if those are related, but I saw the people of Raina and Jason talking about doing that, and the person they were talking to with that helps people with their visas and all that, and the suggestion always comes back, at least when you talk some of them, can't say 100% of them, the ones I've seen. Is that it's easier to go back to the States, apply for the profession liberale rather than trying to switch your status. But then it's like I've seen it, I've seen other ways where it's like I've talked to some folks and they're like, well, that's a way of doing it, but it's better if you try to do it just changing your status rather than going and getting a new, doing the process and trying to do it from. Because the thing is, it means I'd have to travel back to the U.S., which one thing I don't want to do. And then Lord knows how long it's going to take to get that process through. So I've got to get, an Airbnb or some sort of short-term apartment lined up, or get a car and get all that stuff. And it's like, no. And look, I may regret just trying to get it changed. I don't know. I don't know. But I'm going to try it that way just because I'm here. I live here. I have my addresses here. They know where I am. I just, I'm just going to try it that way just to see. But I have heard, people going on about that, it's just easier to go back to the States and just essentially apply for that visa rather than trying to change the status. But I just don't want to go through that hassle and that expense to do that. So, oops, dang it. I'm just scrolling through these things. Let's see. Sorry about this. I'm just trying to get back to where I wish they had a better capability of being able to keep up with these questions that come here. Let's see. Erwan, have you inspired any friends or family members to move abroad as well? No, not really. I just, people are always, I guess if they didn't know, they're surprised when they find out that I've moved. But and there's some, I should say, a couple moved to Nice earlier this year, and that's probably because my friend Richard and I moved here, and this other couple is friends of both of us type thing. So they probably did that just because we'd moved to France. But I don't know of anybody else that's like just biting at the bit to do the same thing. But I just but I don't I really and I guess I try not to promote it as you have to do this. People there are people who want to do it. If you want to do it, you should do it, type thing. But if you don't really want to do it, I'm not trying to sell people on France. It's like, this may not be for you, so I don't really try to do any sort of sales pitch to folks about it. But I'm going to start having more friends coming over to visit, probably next year. That's going to turn into more, the Jeff B&B here. But let's see, Miss Yara, I try not to watch TV or social media when I'm back here in the States. It's stressful, horrific time. If it were to get worse, yeah, I'm sure it's going to get worse. And unfortunately, even here, it's hard to get, especially on YouTube, it's hard to get away from any of that. It just the way it is. Rob, rental companies all say they require if the the international driver's license. But the one time I got pulled over, the very angry cops weren't interested yet. I haven't been pulled over, but I just, like I said, even just getting that health certificate for Freya, it nobody at the airports, and again, everybody has different experiences type thing, but nobody either in Atlanta or in Barcelona gave one hoot about that paperwork. So, and I wasn't hiding her, she was clearly on top of my bag. So anyway, it's just the way it is, I guess. Let's see, Jeff, after Avignon, I'm going to Vienna, then Prague. Join me. That sounds like a great tour. It'll be easier for me to do next year, but this year I just got to kind of stay put. Let's see, Jean-Marc. I went to a brocante the weekend. Very French. Oh, I'm sure. Let's see. Ileana, great idea to join groups/associations. It will open a lot of doors. Are there learning language groups at the local library? I used to teach English as a second language at my library in Brooklyn. There probably are. I tried there's a place here that's Centro Espanol. Centro Espanol is the name of it. And it's a group of volunteers that teach different languages. It's not just French. I mean, I think they do teach English there too, but it's like Spanish, Italian. It's kind of whoever wants to volunteer that speaks the language, sort of thing. But they also do things like sewing and art and writing and probably a book club of some sort and all that. And I think it's 45 euros for the year. And I think all of the classes, if not all of them, most of them are free. But if there's any supplies, you have to provide your own supplies, sort of thing. But I tried that for French, and I just found it a bit more aggravating because they were there as English speakers. There was a few friends here, and I went to it, and we tried several different classes and times and teachers. All very, very nice. All very, very nice people. And they do an immersion sort of thing where they only speak French, except if the class had mostly Spanish speakers, which there were a lot of Spanish speakers in the class. And so if there were Spanish speakers, they typically outnumbered the English speakers that were in the class. So I get why they did this, but it just was a little annoying that if we didn't understand the question that they were asking, and they would never try to answer it in English. It was always French, and they try to get it to the point where it kind of dumped it down to the point where you're like, oh, okay, now I know what you're talking about. Even if they had to kind of mime what they were trying to do. But but if there were more Spanish-speaking people in there, they would go into Spanish to explain to them what was going on, and that got a little aggravating. That was like, okay, I know the difference between Spanish and French, but some of my friends didn't necessarily know. So I would have to tell them, it's like, oh, they're talking in Spanish right now. So that's not going to be helpful for what you're trying to do. And that just became a little bit annoying with the process. So we stopped going to the class because it really was just more annoying. And we were covering very basic things like, days of the week, counting to 100, months of the year, which for some of my friends was very helpful, would have been helpful. It's just that because they didn't know that much French. But that's why I decided to go more toward, kind of using Babbel and italki. That seems to be helping out a lot more for me being able to remember things. So let's see, Elizabeth, the lack of affordable housing is huge in the U.S. And you're absolutely right. That's the other thing is that I was looking at apartments in Atlanta before I left. And I thought that, okay, I can downsize from the house, just get an apartment, just see what happens, if I want to stay here, if I want to move somewhere else, whatever type thing. And I think it was a 2-bedroom apartment in north of Atlanta. So it wasn't in Atlanta. It might have been Marietta, which of course is a nice suburb, a nice northern suburb, but not in a fancy area, not in, well located, but not in a fancy area by any stretch, not a fancy apartment complex. And I want to say that 2-bedroom apartment was like $2,000 a month. And it's like, what, how how is that? So needless to say, that was another impetus for getting off to France. So Rose, the chat is glitching here. Oh no, I hope it corrects itself. Let's see. Patricia's asking, if you turn in the driver's license, does the French government notify, i.e., is the state driver's license thereby invalidated by the state which issued it? I don't know that they notify anybody that the driver's license. They might notify the driver's license was, invalidated. So that's a good question. I don't know what they do with the driver's licenses. So I hope that they would notify people that they converted them, and not relied on, like, I don't know who I'd contact at the state of South Carolina to say, hey, I have a French driver's license now. But let's see. The French government changes prime ministers as frequently as some people change their socks. Yeah, it's been pretty frequent, but I mean it's a tough situation, and I don't know how they're going to try to resolve it. But when you don't have a majority of either left or right or centrists in government, it just ends up that people just get mad at the whatever process comes up. So there's been like I said, I'm not going to pretend I know that much about the what's happening in France with the crisis, but it sounds bad, and it sounds like certainly the solutions they've proposed so far have been awful for the people, and the French have been fighting back against that. So we'll see what they come up with for it. But I don't know. I don't envy them for the position they're in. So Natalia, yes, France stands with Ukraine. Yeah, as does most of Europe, type thing. Everybody's standing for Ukraine. Let's see. Hire a car from Jean-Marc from Leclerc supermarket. You can get vans and larger cars for 15 euros per day. I rented vans from Intermarché a couple of times, and they weren't 15 euros, but they were also, more like a cargo van sort of thing. But they weren't super expensive, but they certainly weren't expensive as like going to Enterprise rent a car or something like that. That was just stupidly expensive for renting a car to drive down to. One time that Richard, a friend of mine that's here, was flying back to the U.S. and decided, well, rather than trying to do the trains and do the bus or whatever type thing, we'll just rent a car and just drive them down to the airport, and I'll just drive back. And that was super expensive to do. They charge you an extra 35 euros for driving into Spain, and I think all in, including fuel, but I think all in it was 400 euros, something like that, which is just stupid. It's just too much. Let's see. Let's see, Jean-Marc, I had to have an x-ray for my examination. Well, Jean-Marc, are you originally from the States, or are you from another country? Because the way they told us is if you're from the U.S., you didn't have to, because they're just checking for tuberculosis apparently. And they just figured, of course, now with Robert Kennedy Jr. as the head of health and safety, whatever it is there type thing, it's like maybe tuberculosis might make a comeback in the U.S. But let's see here. Patricia, Costco in France may deliver as they do in the U.S. I put an order in this morning, which will arrive Tuesday. It's great for all the big items. Patricia, are you here in France now, or are you still in the U.S.? Because there's been a lot of issues with trying to get deliveries here, even to my house. It's not as easy as one would kind of expect it to be, sort of thing. So, but maybe I haven't tried it with the grocery store yet. We don't have a Costco here, so. But I've been thinking about that, because the delivery from the Intermarché, which is near, very close to the house, is like 9 euros, and up to some certain weight, sort of thing. So I might still look into doing that, just so I don't have to schlep heavy stuff back to the house. Oops, scrolling again, just kind of. Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure I'm not missing if somebody's got a. Let's see, Lydia, don't you want to visit Spain? It's so close to Perpignan. Yeah, Spain is not a huge target item for me. I mean, it looks like a beautiful country and all that. I'm not a, well, I guess I could certainly go to like Madrid or and that certainly doesn't take that long to get there from here. And yes, there's a lot of places in Spain that are very close, obviously, since I'm on the border. But I'm not a beach person. I'm not a, that sort of, I'm not really big into the sun sort of thing all the time. So, Spain's never been a huge target for, like, Spain and Portugal weren't items that or countries I was interested in when looking to move to Europe. And with Italy, because I explored Italy for a while until it looked like that was going to be a huge nightmare for doing a visa. It's focused mostly on like Genoa, just because it looked like it was a better climate for summer. So to answer your question, I'm not against it. I certainly don't hate Spain or anything like that. It's just it's not one of my top desires to go to. I'd rather go to like Germany or Austria, or well, not Austria would be pretty and all that sort of thing. I don't know that it's a big draw to go to it. Maybe for the Christmas markets, but in more areas of France. Let's see, Kathy, have you seen the American Highlander here on YouTube in Scotland? Yes, I have, and he's got some. Obviously, the guy's very skilled. He comes from an entertainment industry, so he's very skilled at doing his videos and all that. I just, I don't know. He's got some very cool videos. I just think every time I watch them, it just makes me kind of think it's like, dang, I will probably never be that good at doing a video sort of thing. And honestly, I'm okay with that. But it's like he seems to put some real effort into the cinematography and the all that. It's like, oof, kudos to you. But and I do like watching about Scotland. So I think it's cool what he's done. Let's see. Joe, I always feel safe in Europe except around the train stations. Yeah, I just, and I'm the same way. I mean, the train stations I haven't had any much trouble with so far, but, I haven't tried to, get anywhere late at night or something like that. But it's, no, I do feel much safer in Europe. I'm with you on that. Let's see, Ms. Ciara, Jeff, in Paris, it's the opposite. All the French folks ask me why I don't stay in France all the time. Yeah, it's probably just how culturally different it is in the different parts of the country. But I tell you, when I tell people, because first off, they always think that I'm from the UK. Initially, I'm from the UK. And it's like, pretty sure people from the UK will be able to identify that I don't sound like them. I don't sound like them. So, but in any case, but I get that. I'm English speaking, and so they just kind of assume that I'm probably just another accent out of the UK somewhere. But when I tell them I'm American, it's just, they just look at you like, oh my gosh, why would you leave that? It's like, you just land of opportunity. It's like, and it is to some extent. So let's see. Let's see. Christine. Hello, Christine. Could you share what items you shipped to France and the pros, cons of your choice? I shipped as little as I could. I did ship some items that I used as kind of a hobby, and I do kind of regret that because I really haven't had much time to do it. And it didn't cost a lot of extra to ship them, but I don't know that I'm ever actually going to go back into it. So I don't know that, it was worthwhile to do that. But the, obviously you don't want to ship over any small electronics, things like that, because it's not, plug-in electronics, because it's, obviously the outlets here are different. So and replacing those machines are much more expensive here than getting them in the U.S. But that's just one of the things you just kind of have to accept, that it's just, more expensive to replace things, but it's kind of what you do. I only shipped over things that were very important to me. And so, like, I've got some like cross stitches that my mom had done, some of the first cross stitches she ever did. I have like a hand, it's artwork, but it's a hand-drawn piece for my dad's retirement that they did for him, which was a really nice piece that someone had done, 40 years ago, 35 years ago. And some other art that I just was important to me. But I tried not to ship over anything that I could really just get replaced here. Now, one thing that I would recommend is that it's very expensive here for like jeans, towels, and sheet sets type thing. They're very expensive, and of course, the downside of buying them in the U.S. is they're not the same size as what you get here. So, but like I've got a queen set that the last time Richard went back to the U.S., I asked him to pick up a set for me for here, sort of thing. You just kind of have to stuff it underneath the bed, sort of thing. It's the bed. The house here is furnished, so I didn't have to buy a bed. But it's probably like a little bit larger than a full, but smaller than a queen. And so the sizes aren't the same. So it's not like it's not going to be a perfect fit. But I probably would have probably would have shipped over a couple of more sets of sheets. Any pans you use for baking, I would suggest if you have any that you particularly care for, keep them, ship them, sort of thing. That Richard loves to bake, and one of the things we can't find are like pie tin, or what are they called? Pie tins, pie plate, but whatever they are, you make pies in, whatever that is. I'm not a baker, but you can find 1,000 options for tart pans. Cannot find anything that's just a regular pie pan, at least in this area. So maybe in larger cities like Lyon or Dijon or Paris and all that, they may have lots of options for pie pans, but so that type of stuff is just, and they're more expensive here. But I wouldn't, like I said, I wouldn't just ship stuff over because it's more expensive here. I would ship stuff over that's important to you. But really think about whether or not it's important to you to have it. I don't have any real regrets of things I didn't bring over. It's just some things that and I could always have friends like go out and buy me a couple of sheet sets and ship them here. But of course that costs a lot of money to do that too. So, or you just put up with what you have here, that's the thing. So I hope that helped. Elizabeth, if you make it to Milan, I hope you visit the Lake District, like Lake Como, Lake Garda, Maggiore. So beautiful stuff. Yeah, those look like they're beautiful areas. Let's see. Monica, were you able to find a space at the airport for Freya to take a break and stretch her legs? I know there are accommodations for dogs. I'm really stressing over traveling with my cat, Tallulah. I didn't really look for anything that was a cat. When I was at the airport in Atlanta, I got there super early because I was warned by the vet that Atlanta takes a long time to get pets through, things like that. So I got to the airport like 4 hours early, and hardly anybody at security. I walked right up to the Delta counter to buy her ticket and Freya's ticket and get things set up. Went through security right away. I was at the gate probably like three and a half hours early, so I ended up kind of wandering around. I never took her out of her kennel. I didn't, she was perfectly fine. She probably was stressed out. I mean, but she was quiet. And, but it wasn't like she was, off to the side, just like, she just was laying there, and I didn't want to bother her. So, and she had room in her kennel. If she wanted to get up and kind of move around, she could do that. She's a small cat. So I honestly looked for a space. I figured the way I was going to do it, I would just go into find a bathroom that had like a door that I could shut, that obviously was, nothing under, no opening underneath or anything like that. But, and then I would let her out, and if she needed something, but the vet warned me about not feeding or getting her to drink unless she started to get breathy, something like she was getting really stressed, which she never did. So I was totally prepared, though. I had the wipes, the treats, the regular food. I had when I got past security, I got a little container of water, had a little collapsible bowl just in case, and all that sort of stuff, and another towel in case I was just going to dump it. I had a garbage bag, so in case she did make a mess inside of her kennel, I could clean it up and then throw the other stuff away. I wasn't going to carry it around with me, but just throw it away, and had all that stuff. Did not need a bit of it. She traveled like a trooper. I was more concerned about her than it turned out she was all that worried about it. Even when I opened up her kennel when I got to the apartment here in Perpignan, and it was at least 16 hours, after, getting her from the hotel and getting her putting in the kennel and all that. She just kind of casually walked out of the thing. So I'm like, well, cool. I had a chance to worry about that for, probably 2 weeks beforehand, and it turned out it was a non-issue. So I hope you have the same non-issue. So when you're trying to do that, but as far as like spaces in the airport, I didn't see anything that was like assigned for cats. So I would just assume that you just find a bathroom that has a full door to it, and so you can close it off, and it's safe to get them out of it, and you can get them back in and all that. But she didn't need it, and I didn't want to stress her more out by trying to get her out and all that. So. Let's see. Patricia, I know a British woman who started volunteering once each week at a food bank in France as a way to integrate. Yeah, I did just something. I was involved quite a bit in Austin with the American Cancer Society. So I figured there must be something similar here. So I figured maybe I could, find something that would be, something helpful. Let's see, Linda, did you do a house tour a while ago? If so, are you planning to do some more? I don't know if you're talking about I did one for a property that was for sale. When I start looking at more property, and maybe I should just start doing that here. It's just that trying to, it was a lot easier, obviously, if I was in the United States and I was still a real estate broker, that, I'd be able to go to properties and especially my own listings or something like that and show them and do all that. Here, it's a little bit different in that it's a lot different in that, I feel like if I ask somebody, even Valerie, to do something, I would want it to be of some benefit to her and not just be like, oh, hey, Valerie, can you just take me and show me some places and I'll video them for content, sort of thing. Because it's obviously taking time away from her, and it's not so easy to go look at places. You have to coordinate with the landlord and with who's the owner and all that. And just certainly when I am looking to move and getting into another place, I will do that. And I'm going to work with Valerie here on her listings that she may have over time, where it's like, okay, I'm going to go in and show you, here's another apartment, or here's that, when I just need to coordinate it more with her, that it's like, okay, when you go do a showing, let me know and I'll come along with you, sort of thing. So, but I do want to show some more properties, and I may see if I can get some of my friends, if they don't mind, if I just do a quick video of some of their places just to show what they look like. Let's see. So the Beasto Kid, there's an iconic train journey from London at Euston to Kyle of Lacoche in Scotland, a must. Oh, okay. I'll have to look into that, see what that is. Let's see, Patricia, I suggest reading young adult books in French to upgrade language skills. They're simple but great. Yeah, I definitely need, and I want to start also listening to some French podcasts. Those are pretty easy for something for me to do while I'm on the bus too. Let's see, Jean-Marc, should I sell my house in the U.S.? It depends on what you want to do. I had when I lived in Chicago, I bought an investment condo. Well, I bought a condo, and it was always just as a rental. And I bought it to renovate it. And in the process, I think I had it for like a week. And the real estate company that I had worked to buy it and all that contacted me that there's a person that's moving in from Florida. They really need something ASAP. Is your place going to be available? So I just painted it. I replaced all the electrical sockets. It's like a 2-bedroom, 1-bath condo and 1-car garage. And she came and saw it right away, put in an application, all that stuff. And then, fast forward 23 years, and I sold it before I moved here, type thing. And but I only had the one tenant in it. But I always hated. She was a great tenant, but I hated being a long distance landlord, and I couldn't even imagine trying to do it, from thousands of miles away. So it just depends on, again, what your threshold of pain is for doing that sort of thing. If you think that it's worthwhile to hold on to it and probably sell it a little later, you just have to expect that your property is not going to look like it did when you left it, sort of thing. So you're probably going to have to do things to get it fixed up and, back to what you want it to look like, sort of thing, if you ever decide to sell it. So, as long as you're up for that, and dealing with, or having a management company deal with it. So maybe you don't have to do it on your own type thing, but there's always more expenses associated with it. So if it turns out to be fiscally responsible for you, maybe so, and you can get a local management company, but it's not for me. I don't, I liked having her there, and she was a great tenant for the period of time, but I got lucky, to have somebody there for 23 years. It's like, that's crazy. But I just nowadays, people just seem to go in and bash things, and that just would bug me. Let's see, Robin, we've got 90 to 100-ish people here and only 50 to 60-ish likes. Oh, really? Oh, we're up to 73. Okay, well, we're getting there. Give a thumbs up if you haven't. I appreciate that, Rob. Yes, please. If you get an opportunity, click that like button. Please do. Janet, hello. Well, I'm glad you could make it. Oh, and Bernadette, hello. JC, bonjour. Okay. Oops. Oh my gosh, what am I missing here? Sorry, this seems to be kind of dragging along. Wow, am I really missing? Let's see. Sorry, I'm going to have to skip down a little bit here because it seems like I'm getting really behind, and we're already at an hour and 15 minutes. Rob, farm boy from Kansas here. Ain't it classy being confused British? Yeah, I just get a kick out of that. They always add Angleterre. It's like, no, ma'am. no, ma'am. But let's see, Kathy. I'll never video as well as Jason. I do enjoy seeing Scotland. My ancestors were there, and Ireland. Yeah, I've always had a connection with, of course, both my grandparents. Both sets of grandparents were from Scotland, but. I just love the idea. It's so expensive. I just don't think I realistically can do that. Live there, I should say. Let's see. Oh, go to auctions. Yes, that's something that I would like to start exploring. Once I have a place my next place I want to have unfurnished. I don't want to have other people's furniture. I don't want to have to deal with that. It's nice because you don't have to spend the money on it, sort of thing. But I'm tired of, I'm a tall guy, and and I know a lot of the furniture nowadays, even in the U.S., is not built for tall people. And but I just want to choose what I want to have rather than, being left with things. So. Let's see. Yeah, people are recommending going to the vide grenier for things, and you're right. That there's a lot of opportunities for buying from charity shops and the vide greniers and the brocantes. Daniel, joined here late and catching up. I will not defend the U.S. for much of what is going on, but Medicare is fabulous, and we have some of the best medical hospitals, including cancer in the world. Yeah, no doubt about that. And the cancer care I received was, I'm very happy with the end result. So, I'm not knocking the quality of the care. I'm knocking the expense of it. Let's see. Oh, Robin bounced. Okay. Well, I hope everything went well for you, Robin. Jeff, you were about 2 hours away from Chateau de Goudin. I wish you could visit and film it for us. Well, Sherry, shoot me an email. I don't know if it's reachable by train. And like again, I don't have a car, so I don't mind traveling a little bit, but I don't. We'll see what happens. Let's see, Linda, have you popped into IKEA in Perpignan yet? They usually have marketplace items at great prices. I didn't manage to visit, so it might just be a furniture store. The IKEA here, I think it's more the friends of mine here that shop at IKEA usually go to Montpellier for IKEA. I think the shop here seems to be, I haven't been to it, but I was told it was more like a, was it kind of like what it used to be for Montgomery Wards or something like that, where it's more of like a catalog shop, sort of thing. So you probably can order things and have them shipped there or whatnot. But I don't think they actually have a store here. I think it's just more of a, I want to buy these things, but I don't want to go to Montpellier. So, let's order them and get them in and I'll pick them up here type thing. I think that's what it is. Let's see. Okay, so Jean-Marc's saying that there is an expat magazine here that is, etc. Okay, I'll have to look that up, Jean-Marc. I haven't heard of that. Yeah, there's a lot of things here. A lot of, and with any country type thing. I know that there are a lot of people from the UK as well that come here, and but of course going back to the UK is a bit quicker than getting back to the States. But they'll go back and buy stuff that they want that they can't find here, sort of thing, and bring it back in. I just, I don't know. I guess I just kind of gave up on trying to do that and just figured I may as well get used to what's here. And, there's nothing that I really miss. I know that, like we haven't found anything that kind of replaces that Dawn, what's the Dawn Power Wash that thing cut through like anything, and God knows what kind of chemicals are in it, but it's just that, the brands they have here don't tend to be quite as good as what that was, but I'm not going to try to ship over, try to go and pick up, 2 bottles or 3 bottles of that. So let's see. Let's see, Rob. Once you're on Medicare, as I am, you're experiencing European-style healthcare, unless you're Medicare Advantage. Yeah, maybe so, Rob. Maybe so. I'm not on that yet, so that and I won't be on it. But I just it just was very expensive. Yeah, Elizabeth's right. It just rates are going to be going up, and just like she said, it just all depends on your policy, your networks, and all that sort of thing. So, it's better than paying for it normally type thing, but it just, let's see, Jean-Marc, the super cool kids have a house in the US, UK, and France. That's some super cool kids. I just, I am not one of them. Linda, well, thanks so much, Linda. Y'all have a good night. Okay, well, I probably should cut this off anyway. So let's see. Let's see, Rob. Let's see. Cheap and amazing if you buy it used, but I'm used to it. You may not be. I sell vintage fountain pens and I'm used to doing. I have to keep scrolling. Do my shopping at antique shows and flea markets. Yeah, well, very cool. That's very cool. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Elizabeth, Congressman just proposed making Medicare Advantage mandatory. Yeah, it's all bad. Let's see. Good news. Sherry says the train goes straight to Chateau de Gourdin. I'll email you. It's not going to sure that that's many over. Yeah, I look. I would if it's if it's easy to get to. I'm happy to do that sort of thing. It just but it just has to be something I can actually get to. So, all right, y'all. Well, I appreciate y'all for stopping in and having the chats. Hit the like if you get an opportunity. That'd be greatly appreciated. And we'll just catch you on next weekend, and we'll see what happens Thursday and Friday. Hopefully I don't have to become some sort of a shut in, but it looks like Thursday and Friday I'm going to be a shut in. So we'll see. We'll see. All right. Bonsoir, everyone. Thanks again for joining in, and we'll see you all next Sunday. Au revoir.